and we're live, but it's gonna take a moment until we actually see it. Hi, everybody. I think by now they're so used to helping me debug my own program, trying to go live every time. Can you hear me good? Is everything good with our sound? You should talk as well. By the way, this is Apostate Prophet, if you guys don't know. Also
Probably,
known as Ridvan, but nobody calls him that because it's too hard to pronounce. He's oh shit! I pressed the wrong area. Wait. I want to give you more space on the screen. To be honest, I think you look here perfect.
yeah. Is our sound okay? Is it like is it balanced? Is it understandable? I think so. I hope it is.
Oh yeah. So Shayna, thank you. You're amazing. You're always supporting me in the chat. So if anyone has any questions for Apostate Prophet, please put it as question or question mark. It took me just an hour. It just this is how much sun I got today. Completely normal. Es normal. Es normal. So how you doing? Let's start with that. Let's start with how are you?
Me, I'm okay. I'm all right. I don't know. Things are a little bit crazy these days,
They
wherever you
are.
go, whatever direction you look at. But I think I'm okay.
What makes you
Yeah.
feel
How are
that?
you?
It's not my it's your chair time. I was like, and
um,
what makes you
you,
feel that
you
way?
mean do you mean the negative way?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, there's a lot of stuff in one's personal life, but then right now it's just since the war started, the October 7th, the Israel-Hamas war, every day I go online, I wake up in the morning, I check my Twitter, and I just see the most insane things shared and liked by thousands of people. So some liked by, I don't know, 50,000 people with complete nonsense, complete misinformation, or just pure hatred. Um, Earlier, I actually saw a post by some popular idiot about how during the recent raid in Gaza in Nusayrat, allegedly an IDF soldier went into the home of the people they raided and took a 12-year-old boy and inspected his genitals and then shot him and stuff like that. They're making up these fantasies, and I'm just thinking to myself, okay, it's one thing to believe these ridiculous moral accusations, but it's another thing to be so stupid that you believe that. Really, you think that during a crucial, very time sensitive, restricted operation, the IDF or the personnel in charge really had the time and the luxury to go into some random home or to go into the home they broke into, yeah, and they raided, and to then abuse a 12-year-old before killing him. Does that really make sense to people? It's like we are in such a time where people just spread these ridiculously nonsensical, stupid, completely messed up ideas just because it has been normalized for half a year now to openly and very explicitly express any kind of hatred against Israel and against Jewish people in general. And every day I'm waking up seeing this, arguing against it, trying to debunk things, um, calling out this hatred, but it is everywhere right now, and it's so sick to actually experience all of this, to witness all of this, because as long as I was able to think, I remember people thinking about the Holocaust, people thinking about World War II, and saying, "Oh, never again, we have a responsibility in this and this and that." And then, really, the first instance where the Jewish people's right to exist and have their own homeland comes into question, and they are brutally violated and attacked and massacred. All of these people who said, "Oh, no, 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 never again, never again," suddenly justify the killing, the massacre, justify their any hostility against them, and then accuse them of all kinds of ridiculous shit that people made up 1,000 years ago as blood libels when we didn't have proper information, when we didn't have proper credible sources of information. Back then, it was normal to accuse random people of doing random, very, very weird things, but people are doing it today to justify their hatred. It's such a stupid time to be alive. I don't know. I feel like since the war started, every day I feel like um, there should just be some extraterrestrial species come and eradicate all humans and just take the planet.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. How does it make you feel about Islam?
Islam. First off, why Islam? So
Because
why did you specifically ask about Islam?
because I feel like focusing on something like Islam is right and wrong at the same time. Because what we're seeing is human nature. And Islam is one manifestation of human nature, but it's not the only one.
Well, here is the thing. I think that Islam plays a major role, and in fact, Islam is probably the biggest factor here, in what is currently going on. Of course, there is the whole human nature, the human response to things. Um, people like mysteries. People like singling out and hating groups of people and making accusations, blaming everything on different people, and so on. But right now, especially in this entire conflict, Islam has been playing a major role, and people want to act like it hasn't. People want to act like Islam is or religion is not relevant. It is absolutely relevant. I would, in fact, argue that Islam is the main cause behind what is going on right now, because most of the hatred comes from the Islamic side and the Islamist side. Much of the hatred that is picked up in the West by gullible people, not talking about the right wing neo-Nazis. They are a separate case for now. But the left, for example, when leftists believe any propaganda against Israel and against Jews and start hating and attacking Jews, they usually buy into what Islamists tell them by playing the victim, by complaining, by acting like, oh, we are the poor minority, and these guys, they're strong and they're the majority and they're oppressing us. They're playing into this Western oppressed oppressor narrative, and perpetrator victim narrative, and trying to depict themselves as the oppressed poor victims, which then the leftists buy into and then join in on hating Israel and hating Jewish people. And they say, no, it's not about Jews. And I can say lots of them genuinely don't think that they are hating Jews, but with what they are doing, they are participating directly in the hate, in the instigations, in the aggressions and attacks on the Jewish people as a whole. And this is primarily, I would say, Islam at fault here. There's, of course, also the whole neo-Nazi side in the West that is currently taking advantage of the situation. They have always been there, and they just use the Muslims, and the Muslims use them. That's a whole different story. But currently, the whole leftist and mainstream perspective is being influenced heavily by Islamists being bullies and crying at the same time. And I think Islam is, and that is because of Islam, because very well, Islam has this whole prophecy that before the time ends, before Judgment Day comes, the Muslims will kill the Jews until the last one of them. Islam brings hate, and nobody is hated more in Islam than Jews.
Okay, so would you say that the oppressed narrative is native to the left Western thinking?
That's an interesting question. I mean, it is a very Marxist idea that plays a very big role in Marxism and socialism, which is I mean, even in university, in a basic sociology class, you're introduced first to the whole oppressor-oppressed and class conflict narrative when you learn about Marxism and the influence of Marx on sociological thinking. And in the left, in leftist politics in the West, this narrative has been heavily adopted. They have heavily bought into this as socialism, Marxist thinking, leftist thinking has made its way into academia. People have adopted this way of thinking and applying it to whatever there is in the world without ever even actually understanding what is going on, always thinking there is a conflict between oppressor and oppressed. So in that sense, it is very much, yeah, it's a core part of that, but it's also, there is actually a part of it which is not entirely bad. There is, the whole idea of feeling compassion for the oppressed is, a good one, and it is one that you find in the Bible. It is one that you find in Judaism and Christianity and so on.
It's not
But you
exactly that way.
but it's not the same thing at all. It is a completely different sense of what oppression actually is and what an oppressed person is. It's just the
It's not
leftist view of
it's
oppressor and
I'm sorry,
oppression.
but in the Bible, like at least the Jewish part, it's not presented as oppressed people. It's just that you are supposed to help for those who need help. That's your
Well, yeah,
responsibility.
but for example, it does say that that you should not hate and mistreat the foreigners among you because you
And
yourself
giving,
were foreigners in Egypt, and then this whole idea that they were that the people of Israel were oppressed and were then saved and led out of it and all of that. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that this oppressor oppressed narrative goes back to the Bible. I'm saying that in a sense, there is something good about feeling compassion for those who are actually oppressed in a proper sense. But what we have today in the whole Marxist socialist point of view of the oppressed oppressor narrative is nothing like that. It is completely twisted. It has no meaning anymore. It is just, oh, if somebody is rich, they are probably the oppressor. If somebody is not so rich, they're probably the oppressed. If somebody has this skin color, they're probably the oppressor. If somebody has that skin color, they're probably the oppressed. If somebody has this religion, they're the oppressor. If somebody has that religion, they're the oppressed. It's so ridiculously stupid. It's a corruption of the mind.
what does compassion mean to you? What does it mean?
Feeling some kind of empathy and feeling bad and feeling the need to help, but also, to be honest,
But yeah,
the thing is, Nietzsche made a very nice point about compassion. He had a big problem with he had a big problem with religion, with religious people, and big problem with Jewish religion and with Christian religion. But primarily, when he was talking about Christians, he was accusing religious people and Christians of being hypocrites, because what they call compassion is actually just feeling pity and in a sense considering themselves superior and feeling better about the fact that somebody else is feeling worse, and
yeah.
then trying to play the hero by acting like, oh yeah, I totally support you, I'm totally on your side and all that. In a sense, he is right that much
But
of what compassion in society goes to people feeling this sense of pity and kind of pretending and making themselves feel better because somebody else is suffering. They're not actually doing anything, but there is a genuine sense of compassion that you can find in yourself, where you feel for somebody who is suffering, because you put yourself in that person's position and you actually want to do something about that. If it's genuine, it's a good thing. Most times right now, it is totally a misleading, weird thing.
so I'll say something like, okay, like the זכור כגר היית בארץ מצרים. Remember you were stranger in Egypt, it's not for compassion, it's for equality. Remember, you are equal to them in that sense. It doesn't say, it's not compassion. It's like, this is not the reasoning in Judaism. It's not compassion, it's equality. It's you are the same, you were the same. What makes you think you are better than them if you were in the same situation yourself? Because the mitzvah, the command in Judaism is to look at, every generation has to see themselves as if they were the ones that left Egypt, meaning you were in this exact same situation, not like your grandparents or something like that, you specifically as a person, which means that it was you yesterday. So how can you even think that you guys are not on equal terms? Which is a bit different than compassion. This is why I asked what compassion is to you.
I
Because
see. I guess I think of it just in the sense of seeing that somebody is treated unjustly and having a sense of a kind of a little bit of a hurtful sense of empathy, um,
it's not
which makes
fair.
you actually
It's the sense
which
of
makes you feel
injustice, though.
which makes you think they're experiencing this thing that they should not be experiencing. And like this is in psychology, for example, it's explained in neuropsychology. It's explained with the brain directly mirroring what you see in another person, and putting yourself in that person's position and directly feeling what you would feel if you were in their position, which then prompts you to do something about them. So you would want to bring justice to those who are being treated unjustly, those who are being treated badly. But that's actually a good point, what you were asking there, because it's one thing to feel compassion and to feel the need to do something for those who are treated unjustly. It's another thing to falsely, wrongfully feeling compassion for those who don't deserve it because they are where they are because of what they are actually doing. um, yeah, you can take that as you want.
I mean, also the thing that when it comes to looking for justice is understanding that it's more humbling, because this is what you would want your friend to do tomorrow when you're in the same situation, right? So if, let's say, the situation is, because sometimes injustice happens randomly, it doesn't have to have a reason. There is some misperception, right, or something, and you're supposed to stand up and say that's unjust, because you'd expect for other people to do the same for you, and this situation will happen. This is what, like in the Jewish perception, that's the guarantee. This will happen to you when you would need that
Yeah.
justice to be happen. So be there.
I just made a tweet about this an hour ago or so because I felt like I need to say this. And I said, I am not Jewish. I'm not from Israel. I don't work for anybody. But today, when killing the people of Israel is widely justified, and Israel is blamed for fighting back, it is noble and crucial to support Israel. I would want the same if Israel was my home, wouldn't you? Because that's how I think about the whole situation. What if I was in that position? If I was Israeli, if I was in Israel, and if my country, if my people were going through what Israel has been going through, I would look at the world and would be shocked. Maybe, maybe not, because maybe I would be more experienced with all the hate, honestly. But I would be, I would be angry at least, or disappointed that so many people are supporting my, you know, my misfortune, my killing, or my opponents who openly say that they want to exterminate me. So I would look for support and appreciate it. And so from my position, I just feel like it is the right thing to do right now, especially right now, to stop whatever you're doing and support Israel. For example, this is a empathy and justice case. It's not because I feel pity or anything. It's because I think, I mean, Israel doesn't need pity, right? Honestly, Israel is very strong and resilient, and has a long history of being resilient as a people. Now, finally, you have the opportunity to actually look out for yourselves, have your own state, have the means to defend yourselves and to fight back when people want to exterminate you. And Israel, with its resilience and its strength, is today once again resilient and strong. Israel doesn't need my pity, but I would think that Israel is on the right side of things, and it is the right thing to support Israel.
Well, to me, I just honestly, this kind of line of thinking bothers me a little bit because, like,
Always our
like,
problem.
no, yeah, I mean, it just like, who are you joking? Like, once those protesters, those students are gonna get rid of the Jews or something, like, are they not gonna bring down America? Is it not the continuation of it?
Of course,
So
of
why
course.
is it out of care for us and not out of care for yourself?
That's a good point. And I do feel that. I just don't feel like I put that on the front, or on the that's not what I have in front of my eyes directly. But that is also a good point. That is also a problem. You have very huge numbers of people in the West who, right now, in the whole war between Israel and the terrorists, are standing for ridiculous things, and those people with their ridiculous ideas and stances are also a great danger, not only to um, a conflict in the world. Maybe they don't even have any proper impact on the current conflict, on the current war, but with their thinking, they are a danger to the very societies that they are in, including America, for example. That is a good point. This is why I like you, because you make these good points.
So I'm gonna
That
ask the next question, if that's okay.
Okay, good.
Is it
Okay, go on.
harder for you to defend yourself than to defend others?
Defend in what sense?
As in, to stand up and say, I feel threatened by that movement personally, versus using
But
someone, even Israel, as a proxy to that.
wow, that's an interesting question. I think it depends on who you ask, but from my perspective, when I think about it right now, it is actually easier, or it's actually harder to stand up for myself than it is to stand up for Israel. So, I never thought about that. Yeah, showing support for Israel in this situation is actually the easier thing to do than going out there and showing and sticking up for my own concerns in this whole issue. So in a sense, yeah, maybe this is kind of like a proxy defense.
So let me ask now that we went through all of that, what are your real concerns?
You would probably get a different response from somebody normal, not
It's
from
okay, I
me.
like you.
But in my case, I would say my concerns are actually just with Jewish people here and with Israel,
But why?
because I don't have much of a, you know me, I burned all the bridges. I moved to a different country across the ocean. I went my own way. I easily burn bridges and just do whatever I think whatever I think I should be doing. So I'm probably different from most people. It's because I'm probably insane or something. I don't know. But my concerns would be that I, for some reason, and this is also something that I've recently been kind of thinking about and dealing with, and also addressing and talking about on live streams. I don't understand why I feel so deeply about this, but especially since we went to Israel, I feel even more uh, more intensely, more deeply about this whole thing, I feel this whole connection to Israel and to Jewish people. And maybe this is nothing noble. Maybe this just comes from maybe this is just my personal resentment or my personal response because I grew up in a home where where I learned from a very, very young age to just hate and demonize Jewish people and depict them as monsters, and learned that Israel is like doing all of these insane, evil things in the world. And now this is just my way of dealing with it today. But I feel like I just really care about the existence and the prosperity of uh, the Jewish
Those who
people and the
used
only
to
Jewish state
demonized.
that we have. Yeah, I
Is it like
there
guilt as well, or no?
like what?
Guilt, or just a need to fix something that you feel was wrong?
That's the thing. That's why when I say when I think about it, I can't really explain where it comes from and what it is because I don't feel like it's guilt because I don't feel guilty because it's not like the things that I learned and that I heard from my parents and all that. These are not things that I of my own volition with my own will did. These are just things
Yeah.
that I heard and that I was subjected to, and I perceived those things as a great ignorance and a great injustice in the world. And I when I had my eyes opened to Islam and what it is and what it does in the world, I started opposing it very, very strongly, which is why I can never ever take it seriously when people say, "Oh, don't talk about it, just move on with your life." I can't just move on with my life. I don't work like that. Um, I don't feel guilt, but maybe it is a sense of justice. Maybe it is. Maybe I just think it's a heroic thing to do. Maybe I'm just trying to be a hero to myself or something. I don't know, but
No, you are my hero. So
thank you, appreciate that. But um, yeah, there are some things that I still have not really said out loud because I feel like they sound a little bit pathetic and a little bit strange when I say them, of how I actually really deeply feel about all of this. I just want to keep them to myself until I can find the proper words to express them. But I think it is currently the most important thing to do to stand with Israel, which is why I have been focusing on this since then.
what kind of word do you think would describe the emotion that drove you to make videos about Islam?
To Islam. Um,
The first videos that you made, I don't know if you made anything about something else before.
I want to say justice, but there was more to it because in the beginnings I was much more emotional about this. And I thought people are lying. They're being lied to, they're being deceived. I need to go out there and speak. That's what I was thinking. But I'm not sure if you can really describe that as justice or something else. I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit anger, whatever.
Anger?
Maybe, yeah. Anger. Anger is sometimes a good thing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't like this toxic positivity movement.
Yeah.
Anger is there because anger is the alarm bells that says there is an injustice
Yes.
happening. And this is anger.
Yeah.
Anger is there to say there is something that is unjust. And the thing with our emotion system that it works way faster than our logical and thinking. So we understand that something was wrong immediately, and then it takes us time to figure out what exactly is wrong. But
Yeah. I had this thing all the time. I mean, I remember myself in like when I had a completely different point of view when I was in high school, for example, and there was a point where I was a hardcore communist as a stupid little um, teenager because I thought that's the right thing to go for because of, again, a sense of justice and compassion, which I later understood was totally misplaced. But even then, um, in something as little as a classroom, when I would hear somebody or a teacher, for example, express something that I would perceive as unjust or as wrong, I would feel this very pressing urge to just get up and say, no, no, wrong. That's not true. And to speak up and to say something about it. And I would get myself in trouble for that. I once got beat up after school brutally because of that. But I still did it the next day. And when you think about it, back then, that was completely useless because I didn't change anything with that. I didn't do anything with that. I just, all I did was I expressed my anger about something that I thought was unjust or was a lie or was wrong.
Do
I
you
got
think
beat up
you
over that, and I got in trouble with the school actually over that. It didn't do it, and I knew all along that I wouldn't change or do anything with that at all. But this is just an urge that somebody has, and maybe that's what's driving me. I don't know.
are you sure you didn't do anything, by the way?
For myself, maybe it did, but for others, probably not. I don't know.
Are you sure? Like I'm just
Probably, yeah, because I don't think I actually made any impact with that at all.
did you ever get to meet those classmates later on in life?
Actually, yeah, actually, the very person who beat me up got in touch with me after we graduated from high school and contacted me and said that he's sorry and asked me how I'm doing and said that he respects me. And I said, yeah, everything's all right, everything's good. I guess if that is an impact, maybe it did. I don't know, but I would say it was just more impactful on myself as a person.
Oh, it did do something then. All right. So how long, when was the, like, how long did it take you to, when was the, do you remember when you thought about, like, I should make videos? And how long were you thinking about it before you actually made one?
Um, so there was a time when I was still in Turkey. I think it was like 2016 or so, where I was using Instagram and other social media platforms. I was primarily using Instagram to just post memes and informative things, and I was getting banned again and again for saying offensive things. Back then, we used to call it politically incorrect. That just feels like it's a very old thing now. But I was doing Instagram back then, but I thought the entire time, this is not enough. I wish I could. I really want to have a better platform where I can lengthily explain the things that I'm trying to say here. And I was thinking of doing YouTube. I I think I didn't start it back then because I thought I'm in Turkey. If I start making videos here, I could get in trouble and this could prevent me from ever leaving this country. And I want to get the hell out of here no matter what. So I was waiting until I could leave Turkey. And once I left Turkey, I started making videos as soon as I had the opportunity. So yeah, it was probably like a year or so, and mostly I just waited because of the circumstances, because of Turkey.
So what did you want to get off your chest that badly? And was
Just
it the same? Yeah.
the whole same thing. Islamists are lying. The Islamic preachers and apologists, they are lying. They don't speak the whole truth. And I know why they are not speaking the truth, because they don't have because they have an excuse for it, because if it serves the purpose of upholding and spreading Islam, they don't have to be completely honest and direct and open about everything. They can conceal a few things, or bend their words and whatever, which is a very, very interesting, huge difference between Islamic morality and biblical morality. But so that, and this whole idea that I personally was heavily influenced, and I would say misled and oppressed by Islam in my own family life, but so many others are experiencing much worse things, and it could get worse for everyone else. I just don't want it to spread at all anywhere. So I want to go out there and do what I can to speak out against it. That was the Sorry, I'm playing with my goat here. I just accidentally pushed a button.
Okay, we all like playing with our goat sometimes, I guess.
I have to always fidget with something to think more clearly.
No, I get it.
But yeah, that was the whole idea. This whole thing was the whole purpose was just to the whole motive was to speak out against what I was angry at, and that's it.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
They lure. It's like a honey trap. It's like they lure people in, and then
Yeah, yeah. Because I was personally also I experienced on a smaller scale people trying to spread Islam in a non-Muslim environment. My own family and another community that they were part of, when they were in Germany, they went from door to door to hand people these flyers, and it was especially for Christians. Um, and the flyers were they were written in such a way that they target Christians, but the flyers kind of address Christian beliefs in a way that is actually deceptive. They're lying to Christians with with the flyers, and they're justifying it because they think Christians are misled, they're on the wrong path, they are infidels, they are, I don't know, polytheists, they are all kinds of messed up, perverted things. And we have to give them selective verses and selective ideas to somehow lure them out of that wrongful thinking and bring them into Islam, to spread Islam and to make Islam stronger. So that's what they were thinking, and they were handing out these flyers in which they uh, present uh, present this whole picture like Islam is not so different from Christianity. We have similar ideas, but Christianity has some wrong beliefs which are corrected in the Quran and so on. But while they were handing out those flyers to Christians in Germany in a very nice, in a very polite and kind way, on their way back home they would talk about how sick and wicked and perverted these Christians are, and how Allah will deal with them, and how they are the enemy and you can't trust them, and so on. This whole two-faced behavior, I witnessed that as well on many different occasions, and I just can't have that. I have to say something about that, and that just drives me.
do you feel like the people are waking up to that, to the wokeism? Do you think people are snapping out of it, like they're seeing that they are being misled?
Um, I'm not sure, honestly. Sometimes I feel like yes, they are. People are waking up to it and realizing that this is a problem, that they shouldn't be dealing with it so gullibly and so nicely and all that. Um, but then you see how the West acts toward Islam, and how they welcome it still. How so many people still welcome it as a maligned, misunderstood religion, and they're just like us. All religions are the same. Or when you criticize Islam, somebody immediately jumps up and says, "Yeah, but all religions have problems," uh, and so on. So this is still a very dominant idea. I would say lots of people in the West don't really like Islam, but maybe the majority doesn't like Islam, but the dominant idea is that it is probably morally the right thing to not outright dislike and hate Islam. And that, I think, is a mistake, because I think, in all honesty, it is not only morally right, it is also morally necessary to dislike and to strictly oppose Islam, because this is not something that you can just ignore and be kind to. It is um, an aggressive, intolerant, hateful, dangerous, wicked, sickening religion. And some people want to say, "Oh no, it's radical Islam, or not Islam in general." No, it is Islam. It is Islam. It's at the core rotten and terrible. Treating it as if it was okay is actually an act of injustice, because you're validating a completely messed up, a completely unjust, a hostile, aggressive idea, and thereby just endangering future generations and other people.
Yeah. What do you feel? How do you feel about the Western culture now that you've lived at the West for some time?
Sorry, can you say that again? Couldn't hear.
Look, what do you think about Western culture? How do
Western
you
culture.
perceive it? Yeah.
I think it is. It is. It is a beautiful culture. It is a very, very nice one. It is a very good product of both pre-modern culture of the Roman and Greek culture and the morality adopted from the biblical thinking, and it turned into something great that actually, I don't know, that turned this region into a very prosperous one, into a very well developed, very nicely ordered and organized one. I love it. It's a very nice culture. It's beautiful, and I always appreciate it. Always love it. However, it's also a little bit, people in the Western culture often grow up to become a little bit naive, and this is a very Western thing to be naive and to be too good-willed about the world and about other things, and to feel a lot of guilt, to feel like, oh no, we are guilty. Oh no, we shouldn't be too proud. We shouldn't be we shouldn't speak so well of ourselves. Oh no, no, we should feel sorry for others and so on. This is a little bit that's a weird aspect of it, which I still cringe at whenever I see it. But overall, it's a very good one. So
Do you see
what
it
can I say?
often? Is it a common thing?
It is actually quite. I mean, it's a that's the current thinking, right? So when I mentioned earlier, I said most people don't like Islam, but they see it as maybe the morally better thing to do, to not so openly dislike Islam. This is again that same idea, because Western people often have this thing, this idea of second guessing themselves, and um, thinking they have to, thinking that it is categorically altogether a virtuous thing to be tolerant and understanding and open to whatever is foreign. This is especially a leftist idea, but it's in general, it is part of the Western culture, and there are very good aspects to that. And there are many, in many ways, this is a good thing. But again, when it goes too far, because of this naivety, it actually turns into an act of injustice itself. And that's the paradox. It is, you might consider it a virtuous thing to be as tolerant as possible, but if you are too tolerant of very unjust ideas and unjust currents, then you are engaging in injustice by helping those unjust ideas and unjust movements. And this is a big problem in the West, which is why Western people just need to reevaluate their way of thinking about the world, and maybe need to learn more.
Yeah. I have another question. Okay, so we talked about oppress mentality, which is not Islamic, right? It's Western, and I mean, in a sense that it's Marxist, whatever. Marx worked in France, Germany, whatever. It was not. Okay, let's say there was no Islamic influence, or America was an island and the rest of us were underwater, like it is depicted in every apocalypse movie, a dystopian situation ever. Somehow the whole world is underwater, and then the island that is the United States stays sometimes with Alaska, sometimes without, but let's say like that, right? How do you think, how would the Jews be fitted to that kind of mentality or thinking if you take away the Islamic influence?
There's too much to think about there. The thing is,
API,
there's one thing that
did I tell you that, did I not warn you that I'm going to make you think this life?
you did. You did. I'm just
Okay,
not
good.
prepared for it. Um, Here's the thing. Something that I think about sometimes, which might sound a little bit controversial to some people, but I think you'll agree with this a little bit, as far as I remember. But so right now in the world, the Western world, I think, as the further west you go, actually, the more the Western world is right now pretty much still in alliance with Israel and with Jewish people, mostly. You have those who go around being loudly against Israel and all that. However, while they are loud, they don't really represent the majority. For example, in America, the vast majority of people still support Israel and stand with the Jewish people.
Hmm.
However, and in Europe as well, in Europe, still most people support Israel. The thing is, however, I think that the fact that that Jews in such high number emigrated, those who were in Europe, and the fact that today there is once again a Jewish state where people have their homeland, this actually contributes to Europeans feeling better about Jews, in my opinion. In my opinion, if there was no Jewish state, if there was no Israel right now, and Jews were still simply a minority among nations in Europe, there would be
But
much
there are no
less
nations. There is only
support.
United States. There is a reason I said it
Oh,
like that. There is a reason I said it like that. I know it's different in
okay.
Europe.
Okay, I missed that part. So there's only United States?
Only I told you everything else in the water, just like they do in the movies. Always, sometimes they add Alaska, sometimes they remember it's part of the United States, sometimes they don't. Puerto Rico is, of course, like, who remembers that island at all? Why, whatever, but like.
I guess I don't know. I don't know. That would really depend, because then it would be different. Because then if everyone is at the same place, there would be less of a conflict of interest in terms of territory and different communities and all that. So if it was part of that, there would probably be uh, maybe there would be less of a problem. I don't know, but
Because the oppressed oppressor kind of narrative is very race, and it's unique to the United States. Almost no other place thinks that much in terms of skin colors as much as the United States does, I feel like. Correct me
it's
if I'm
also
wrong.
that is true. That also has to do with the United States history of slavery. That also influenced a lot of that influenced the way of thinking in America, because slavery was part of the early history of the United States. Of mostly Black Africans were brought over as slaves, were treated differently. There was segregation for a very, very long time, until very recent times, actually. People of different Black people had different treatment. So this racial differentiation, racial thinking has had great impact on
Yeah.
American society.
And this is the oppressor oppressed perfect
Yeah,
thing. But
and
then you have this ultra sophisticated, and when you add Latinos and things like that. But I'm saying, like, in the case of an island, it's not that there is Israel, it's not that there is Africa, it's not that there is Latin America anymore. But everybody are living in the United States with their respective histories.
yeah,
How would the Jews
that
fit in that?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Or
Maybe we
would
should
would
think
it
about.
would it have like a significance or no? Like just the Jewish people? What do
I
you
would think
think?
it would probably have less significance, also depending on how the Jewish people would in that situation, you know,
Filthy
how they would
rich as
how they
they
would be
are.
shaped, how they would be, how they would be shaped in such a society,
I mean,
and how
The
society.
Jews, like right now, you take the 50 most rich people in America, you see they're like Jews are extremely overrepresented. You take Ivy League, Jews are extremely represented. The same way.
That has a reason, though, right? Because of the history of how Jewish people were seen and treated in society, in European society, and
That
so
made them
when Jews
rich.
that it contributes to one aspect of it, which is that the Jews go into one certain direction and start dominating a certain business, a certain industry, for example. That aspect, that is something that is
Jews
that is
dominate
very
a
much
lot of
felt by.
industries, except those who
Yes.
have to do with natural resources, because they can never get hands on natural resources, almost ever. Which, because it's like if you take Hollywood and you take the banking system, you cannot say it's the same industry.
Yeah, but so Jewish people also have traditionally and historically a very very well a very good sense of discipline and of work and all that, which where I think actually, to be very honest, the Sabbath is something that is traditionally, that is historically a good contributor to why Jewish communities have been more successful and more productive, because I think it actually gives people a compulsory but also necessary way of taking the focus off of all your worldly things for one day at least, and to focus on and to focus on something else, which I think every human needs, which makes them again more productive and more efficient. This is actually something very 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 valuable to appreciate about Jewish culture and Jewish religion.
I like your thinking. So what you're saying, we're gonna ditch the oppressed oppressor BS aside, and everybody are gonna come to the Jews and ask them, "Hey, Jews, so why are you so successful? What are your traditions exactly? Learn from
Yeah, I would.
it. Adopt
Yeah.
the Sabbath." Interesting. I like that thinking. Interesting America.
It's also the Jewish way of preserving, of writing down the law, of putting the law at the core of everything, of upholding it and making it, considering it so holy and untouchable. Actually, writing it down and having this unique sense, this unique tradition of putting of putting legislative writings and chronicle thinking into scripture and preserving it so well and treating it with such respect is something unique that you don't find much across cultures. So I would say in that sense, it is a culture that probably did learn with this way of acting and thinking to be disciplined and responsible and productive and efficient. Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. So this island is gonna be finally the world peace Judaism strives for.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. I love
Inshallah.
that. So what pains you the most in the current political situation?
The current political situation. Well, I focus on different things right now, on different things at different points in time. But so right now, the whole issue is just the Israel Hamas war, the conflict, and how people are acting about it. And I am a little bit concerned that lots of people have that concern, but I am a little bit concerned that the current piling up of different conflicts and wars and things like that around the world might lead to a greater war, because if you know the history of the First World War and the Second World War, I mean, it didn't just start with people just going all crazy and fighting each other. It started with one conflict or the other conflict and so on, adding and adding and adding and connecting, and then turning into a major world war that is focused on especially one or two major geopolitical points. But the current situation, the whole Ukraine war, the Israel-Hamas war, with others provoking and trying to get involved, and Iran trying to escalate things. And then there is another thing which is currently not as bad, but could get bad, with China wanting to take Taiwan again and annexing it, and the West saying, no, we won't allow this. With things like these, I don't know. I'm just a little bit concerned that things could escalate a little bit, escalate slowly into a larger global conflict. And if such a conflict arises, then Islam And that's again something that I'm worried about here and that I concern myself with. I know how Muslims think and how Muslims generally have this whole idea of one day, maybe soon, we will unite again and we will be strong and we will finally spread and subdue the rest and so on. Islamists would be very much in such an environment encouraged to become more active in hostilities. And of course, there is one part, one entity in the world that the Islamists are all feeling very resentful and very angry about, and that is Israel. So they would be waiting for an opportunity for everything to, for the shit to hit the fan, and then they would think, okay, this is the opportunity. Let's now get all in and fight, and that would just be very stupid. I don't want to live through such a time.
Why? Like, okay, we're gone, so.
What?
We're gone, okay, so.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I don't want it. That's it. I don't want to live through such a time. That's it. That's all I'm thinking about. I just don't want it. I don't like it.
That's cute.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't want that.
And what do you think? Like, how do you see yourself in that global effort to fight that?
I don't know, because it's very hard to tell what exactly will contribute to an escalation and what will prevent an escalation. But so right now, with what is going on in this war, there is a major propaganda war ongoing, and I just feel pushed every day to take part in that and to fight those loud and ignorant people who are on the other side of the propaganda war. And mostly when we are doing this, when we are in the middle of this propaganda war, it's very hard to think about what exactly your actions will do in the long run. So I don't exactly know whether something I do or something I say will is if it was done on a larger scale more a move toward peace or a move toward more escalation. I would just think that even if things got really bad, I would think Israel in this case would be on the side that I morally and in general just personally align with. That's what I want to stand with and support. The West would be in general morally, culturally, in terms of values, be the ones that I align with and support, which is why I didn't want to live in Turkey, for example, because I thought this is not my culture, this is not my morality, this is not my way of thinking. I don't like this. I hate this. I want to get out of here. I want to be part of the West because that's how I think. That's what I like. That's what I value. So here I am. I am part of the West, and Israel is also part of the West, and Israel is also not part of the West. It is at once part of the very same camp in terms of values and thinking, but at the same time, it's also very distinct in itself and is a force of its own that I also identify with and want to stand with. And this is just this is just my position at the moment. And all I want is for because what I see is, so when people have this whole propaganda war against Israel right now, they're mostly waging war through lies and through hate. And you can see it everywhere, right? You go on social media, you go on X, you see that from the pro-Israel people will most often present actual verifiable facts and present things in the inaccurate ways. Of course, there is misinformation everywhere, but mostly it is significantly more factual, whereas the other side is just full of lies, full of misunderstandings, full of hate. And you also see this very clearly with community notes, for example. Community notes is a very good indicator, a very good thing that recently started. So credits there to Elon Musk. But you see how community notes so often just comment really slap the pro-Palestinian side in the face so often. When you look at the top 10 accounts that get the most community notes, there are so many big pro-Palestine accounts among them because they are full of lies, and they wage war with lies, with misinformation, which already says a lot about their moral standing, their position in this world. And right now, it is just important to stand against the dishonesty, against the misinformation, against the hate, and for the values that we cherish, for the values that make the world a better place. And I think that is the Western world and Israel right now.
So you said something that made me feel like in the beginning, that you said something that it sounds like the West not standing with Israel would kind of change your image of the West, the way you look at the West itself.
Yeah. So I would say that first off, if I saw, like, if I see Western people in general, when I see that certain Western people or Western individuals or organizations don't stand with Israel, what I think in my head, my reaction to this is that that they're making a mistake, because they should be supporting those who actually share most of their values, which would be Israel. It's not the other side. With the West, I would say the West in general should be standing with Israel because they share most of their values with Israel. If, however, at some point, for example, the West collectively was not standing with Israel, I would think that the West is making a big mistake here, and it would just lead me to be even more depressed about things. And I would think that this is a result of the naivety of the West. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but is that good?
There is no good or bad. I'm just asking because I'm curious.
No, I mean, is that does it answer what you were asking, or?
It makes sense to me, yes.
Okay.
I mean, there is an option, right, that after making that mistake, that the West would change its ways and realize that they were wrong.
Yeah, the thing is, with Israel, while Israel is very strong and very resilient, there's also something that was it Netanyahu who said that a while ago, years ago? I think when he was in discussion with, I don't remember who that was, but he said, you are in a place, you have the luxury to make mistakes, but we as Israel, we don't have the luxury to make mistakes the way you make mistakes. For us, it is only one mistake could be a threat to our whole existence. I don't remember what that was from, but I'm pretty sure Netanyahu said that to some American president or to some leader or to a European leader. I don't know. If somebody remembers, just point it out. But there is that thing in the West. The West is currently still at a point where the West is relatively safe, even with all the mistakes that are being made right now. Israel is not in that same position and doesn't have that same luxury. And I would say that for the West, it is actually also, in a sense, a moral obligation to stand with Israel. And if the West failed to stand with Israel and just threw Israel under the bus, it would be not just a mistake, it would be a catastrophic, possibly unforgivable mistake from my point of view.
Why?
And because they have the obligation, because it is a crucial and existential thing. It's like you have a good friend or a sibling or whatever it is, and you at some point make the mistake of not standing with them and thereby risking their lives.
Okay.
That's not just a mistake. It's not just something that where you can say, "Oh, well, he made a mistake. Okay, just we'll just move past that." No, you can't forget that mistake.
Do you think it would be different than the Holocaust, for example?
Well, with the Holocaust, the thing is that that the West did in the end step in and do something about it. Although, I must say, not really in time, and not really, not quickly, not very well. But in the end, they did step in and did root out the Nazis and got rid of the situation.
But there are no more Jews in Europe.
So what?
But there are no more Jews in Europe.
Yeah. No, there are still some, but yeah. So,
I mean,
but they did cause a problem
basically
with
there
that.
are no. You can
Yeah.
say that there are no. And
Yeah.
it could be the same with Israel. So what's the... Okay. So why is it so catastrophic,
Well, I'm just saying it would be catastrophic if the West, for example, in a fight between the enemies of Israel and Israel, in a state where Israel is seriously and genuinely under threat of being destroyed as a whole, with its people being brutally, massacred or otherwise ethnically cleansed. In such a situation, it doesn't have to result in specifically that. It doesn't have to result in the extermination of Israeli people or of Jews in the region or anything like that. It is already terrible and catastrophic enough for the West to make that mistake of abandoning Israel and leaving it up to chances. Whether Israel dies in the end or not is not too important, to be honest. It's in terms of judging whether the West made a huge mistake or not. By letting Israel down, they already did it. There is no further point in waiting for the results. Whether Israel makes it out of that or dies as a result, it is all the same. The West would have made an unforgivable mistake in that case, which should never be done. And this is why people need to learn what Israel is actually dealing with and what the enemies of Israel think about Israel and about Jews. That's why they should be opening their eyes. That's why everyone should know and openly talk about this. That's why I'm trying to tell people that this is about Islam. That's why so many of us are trying to point out how the enemies of Israel actually think about Israel and about Jews. If the West could actually see and internalize how the enemies of Israel and the enemies of Jewish people think about Israel and about Jews, maybe they would be less likely to make the mistake of throwing Israel under the bus. I don't know, just my guess.
Is it a litmus test, or do you think?
What?
Is it sort of a test or something? Is that why it feels so? Because here's the thing, okay? As an Israeli, I love, with all due respect to the attention and the importance and being put on a pedestal, there are a lot of atrocities happening, right? Now, before, whatever. But there is something that is on about Israel that from both sides is very, very emotional, even if it on paper is from people that do not have anything to do with us specifically.
Like me.
For example, yeah. There is something like how do I describe it? Like unnatural, like unique, different. Like for Taiwan is just gonna be a disaster like that. Like 50 million died in by Mao Zedong hands, and like the like losing Taiwan would be a disaster that is unfathomable, but nobody talks about it and nobody is as emotional about it. And I feel like Taiwan and Israel are very similar, both in the geopolitical position of Taiwan is completing the barrier by having Taiwan, the Philippines, and Japan being the barrier between the United States and China if China chooses to actually invade America by the sea. And the same way Israel through Cyprus and Greece and then Italy is a sort of the water border of that is defending Europe. On the geopolitical end and technologically wise, it would be a disaster for the world's technological advancement to lose both Taiwan and Israel in a very similar way. But
Well,
the emotions are on Israel.
because well, one of the factors is that the Taiwan-China situation is so different on multiple levels. One is that with China and Taiwan, you're dealing with basically the same people with officially the same name, officially the same state name almost, threatening each other and trying to, with Taiwan just trying to exist independently from the communist influence, but China saying no, we are the legitimate China. There's only one China.
Okay, and we are in the middle of the Islamic Sea, so we are supposed to be Islamic. This is the same logic.
No, but so over there it's with China and China, just the big red bully China and the small independent authentic China, if you want to call it that. With Israel, another aspect is also that it's too far away, and this is just something very natural and very human, but it is both geologically and also visibly and linguistically, audibly too far away from the West and the Middle East and the center of our world right now, right? So when something happens in the Far East, as we often describe it over here, it doesn't matter quite as much because it is not as relatable to people as a conflict that happens in Europe or in the Middle East. It is not something that we see as our problem immediately. However, these are all small issues. The one big issue is that with Israel, as said, on the one hand, we are dealing with Islam, with the Islamic world, which is, I don't know, 1.8 billion, 1.6 billion people right now, a huge part of the world population that is very relevant here in the West, in Eurasia, that has a long history of fighting and of being in the West, of being in the Middle East, in North Africa, and all of that world, or much of that world, is so much obsessively focused on Israel for religious reasons. Not mostly for political reasons, for mostly religious reasons. So they are so much focused on that. Because they're so much focused on that, and because Israel is being mentioned again and again and again by these people, this is also something that is necessarily relevant to the West and the Middle East in general, not just among Muslims, but also to others, because they hear the obsession with Israel all the time. It automatically becomes relevant to all of us and to everyone who is interacting with Muslims, where then we are subjected to the test of whether we will listen to the Islamists when they claim to be the victim in this conflict, or we see what's actually happening and we see that they are actually obsessively against Israel and against Jews. So this becomes part of a larger geopolitical problem that no longer concerns only the Islamic community, but it starts with them, and it then concerns all of us, the rest of us. But it's also because Israel, Jewish people have been a long, crucial part of Western society, of North African society, of Middle Eastern society, in terms of religion, in terms of culture, historical interactions, in terms of living together, in terms of, I don't know, business interactions, and so on. I mean, Christians read the Bible, and in the Bible you read Jews, 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 Israel, 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 Jews, Jews, Israel. It's the same thing, you know. So obviously this matters. Jewish people matter. Israel matters. This is a very big concern. This isn't just restricted to Israel or to the Jewish people. It grows out of that and concerns everyone. And the more there is an obsession with attacking Jewish people, the more of an obsession it becomes overall for all of us. This is why, although this whole Israel-Palestine conflict is not remotely as deadly as so many other conflicts that are going around in the world, we don't really see those and we focus on this. I mean, there are lots of people who are being killed in Nigeria, massacred in masses. In Sudan, there's an actual genocide going on. Who's talking about it? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares, because nobody cares about Africa. Nobody cares about societies that don't actually play a big role in our history and religion and culture. Maybe we should be caring about them, but apparently nobody cares. It doesn't play that big of a role. And I want to sit here and act like, oh no, this is just because people are hypocritical and they're ignorant. Well, I look at myself. Do I really care? I can't really find it in myself to pay that much attention to what's happening in Sudan, or what's happening in even Nigeria, or what's happening in different African countries. We just we focus so much on what is happening in Israel. It matters a lot to us. It is in an odd and weird sense relatable to everyone. And for me personally, I would say I just have a personal history and a personal interest with all of this. And I don't know, maybe there's more behind this. You know, when I came back from Israel, I thought I'm a little bit amazed by how Israeli people are, with how Israeli society is, and how so much of the world is like hates Israelis, hates Jews, and makes up all kinds of shit about them that is clearly not true, and it clearly can't be because of the way Jews are. Because if you actually went and experienced Jewish culture and Jewish people and Israeli people, you wouldn't come to all those ridiculous conclusions that people around the world come, that these are evil people who are trying to control the world and and whatever there is. So I thought at that point, maybe there is something supernatural, maybe there is something spiritual about this. You know, maybe there is something else behind this. And I even discussed this with a Jewish friend of mine in Germany, and he was a little bit amazed to hear how I felt about all of this. And he said, maybe you have a Jewish spirit, maybe you have a connection to it. And I thought, yeah, that's of course a very nice explanation. I don't know.
That's the Jewish thinking. Like, this is how we describe converts to Judaism. Those are people who have a Jewish soul.
yeah. But I don't know. This is just you know, it's an interesting way to explore why people are thinking this way, to explore why I think about it this way, and why other people in general think about it. Maybe if you ask somebody else, they would have even more insightful remarks about this. This is an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's also interesting that even though we're like officially like a march towards atheism, that criticalness of Jews was never abandoned in a way.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah.
It's interesting to me because I can see, like, during history there is a lot of attempt to conceal and minimize the contribution of Jews and Judaism to the world as we know it today. I feel so.
There's also this is not only about Jews. It's about people being I don't know how to describe that honestly, how to find the right word. For example, I talk with David a lot about Western society and all that, and we have mentioned one thing a lot, which is that among the modern atheists, the new atheists, they have this very big hostility toward Christianity, for example, and toward religion, and well, they want to blame religion and Christianity specifically for basically everything that is wrong in society. And a lot of the new atheist, leftist people, while feeling that religions and Christianity are bad and that they are morally oppressive and morally wrong, they don't realize that at the core they are very much influenced by Christian way of thinking. It is actually the Christian way of thinking about society and about the equality of man before God, of of rights and compassion and things like that, that drives them to feel angry at Christianity itself, because they don't understand where exactly they're getting these morals from. So without understanding that Christianity is what gives them their good morals, which they consider good, they are also criticizing and trying to minimize and minimalize and criticize Christianity. People just have this, and people do the same thing with Judaism. It's just because people have a weird tendency to be blind to whatever contributed to their past, and to have this weird revolutionary spirit of trying to just go onto the future on their own and not thank what gave them a lot of the things that are good.
Yeah, it's because like one of the reasons I said that if I mention the contribution that the Jews, let's say, had to the Western way of thinking that is common in the West and like many other, in many ways, right? Not necessarily that I agree with every kind of Jewish thinking myself, because it's a very diverse. How do I say, like it's a collection. It's not one way. But I see a lot when I say that, like, what are you saying? No, it's completely Greek. It's completely Roman. There is no like. I was like, you have an entire Bible written called the Hebrew Bible, and then the number one person you listened to was a Jew that sounded like a Jew, and everything he said sounds like super Jewish in its essence. If you know anything about Judaism, you're like, okay, it sounds like every second Jew. A little bit on the leftist side, 100%, but like a Jew.
Yeah.
So that reaction of like, no, it's Roman, no, it's Greek. I mean, is like weird to me. This anger.
It is weird. It is strange, but it might also. So it's on both sides. It might be that Judaism or Jewish people contributed a lot, which people don't want to acknowledge. On the other hand, as mentioned, this whole aspect of Judaism being so at the core and being being such a contribution to Western people, for example, might be one of the reasons why people in general feel more connected to Jewish people and to Israel. In the West, in an average European country, for example, people think about Israel and about Jewish people as subconsciously, not even actively, but subconsciously, as kind of their own people. It's like people actually identify with Israel as if it was another country with the same values. They identify more with Israeli people and see them as a familiar, as a relative, as a friend. They don't think the same way about Syria, for example. Although Syria is geographically slightly closer, they think of Syria as totally foreign, as unfamiliar, as totally different, not relatable, and all that. But they feel much more connected to Israel, probably both because of the religious history and because of the the Ashkenazi and Sephardic interactions and experience and all that. But so that's Europeans do feel very connected to Israel and Jewish people, and that is always going to play a role in how people judge this whole conflict.
So there is a lot of projection in a way. This is what's happening. It's those who hate themselves are siding with the Palestinians, and those who love themselves siding with the Jews.
That is actually a very good point. I saw this post yesterday. There was a big march in Toronto, Canada, where there was a big pro-Israel rally, and when you look at photos, there were like, one report said there were 50,000 people. I don't know if it's true, but there were massive amounts of people. The whole roads were filled. Israel flags, Canadian flags, and things like that. And one of the responses from some white person in response to that was, "Look at that, all bunch of white people. It looks like mayo, sprayed all over the place," or something like that. And this is a white person saying it. And then also saying pro-Palestine protests are full of diversity. Okay, fantastic. What does that mean? By white people, by the way, they're not talking about
It's
people of
okay. We talked
European.
about. I had this joke that being Jewish is the greatest equalizer, because no matter your gender, no matter your skin color, you're like we're all white
Yes,
males.
yes, yes.
Like
Here is
the
the thing.
perfect equalizer. There, we are all equal. We're all white males, grown-ups, even babies.
Here's the thing. With that picture, one thing that crossed my mind, which I think about sometimes, is that it's aside from that, it's also when they say white, they don't actually mean white. When they say white, they're talking about people who look like. I want to be careful with my words right now, but they look like what you perceive as a proper, regular person with proper, acceptable clothes, put together, taken care of. Somebody who looks like a functioning member of society. That's a white person in their eyes. Somebody who, on the other hand, looks like all ripped up, with a mask on their face, throwing things around, screaming, and all of that. That is a diverse background. But if everyone is like orderly, is wearing proper pants and looking nice, looking I don't know, presentable and
Or they're
outside,
coconuts,
they
right? This is
they
another way
say,
of being
oh,
white.
they say that is white person. That's a white person. Yeah.
Did you hear
That's how people
that?
think.
Coconuts, Have you
Coconuts?
heard coconuts?
Is it a thing? I don't know.
It's like white from the inside, black on the outside.
Oh.
It's
Yeah,
when
yeah,
because
yeah,
they're also white. Because they're white, hiding their whiteness behind black
yeah,
dark skin, but they're white.
yeah. I I don't want to say civilized, but that's basically what I mean. But if somebody is acting in what is considered a civilized way in the West, that's what they consider a white person. That's what it is. Because that's what was in the march as well. The march wasn't full of white people. It was full of people who just looked orderly, civilized, who just walk together in peace and go with the values that people actually cherish, instead of making a mess, throwing things around, spreading trash everywhere, yelling, attacking people, breaking public property, and so on. That is non-white in their perspective.
I see.
That's how they view. It's not how I view it. That's how they view it.
Interesting.
How did we get to this? What did you actually say? I don't
I don't
remember.
know. But actually, okay. So here's my next question: how do you view religion now? Where are you standing with it?
Um, religion. So for years, I always said that I don't dislike religion. I don't hate religion. You know that I appreciate religion. Well, many years ago, I made a video where I talked about how I actually like religions for different values. I mentioned Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, and so on. My only difference with it was always that I wouldn't accept Islam specifically because it is more than just a religion. It is dangerous and harmful and hostile and hateful. But I would also be opposed to any other religious movement if they were, oppressive, imposed themselves on others, dangerous, and so on. However, in general, I just view religion. So my main difference was just that I don't believe in a god, or I don't believe in something
Mhm.
supernatural or divine or something spiritual, whatever you want to call it. I'm at this point still where still somewhat in that position. While in the past I thought it was the accurate thing for me to say there is no God. I know there is no God. Right now, I'm in a different position and think that that I can't really make a statement on whether there is a God or not, which I guess makes me agnostic in a way. And religion, I just view
Did you used to
uh,
believe there is a God?
as a Muslim, I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, definitely, wholeheartedly. Was praying to him day and night. He was kind of weird though.
Do you miss that?
No,
Not that God, but like believing in.
sometimes, not so often. Sometimes, I used to miss it much more several years ago, or in my early years. After I stopped believing, I would
Mhm.
miss having this entity to talk to. Nowadays, I almost never have that need, or I don't really miss it. I did on occasion pretend talking to God, or tried in different ways. But yeah, religion. I just think I think religion is something good in that it is, historically, anthropologically seen. I think of religion as humanity's way to try and understand the world around them, to make sense of it, and also to organize society in a functioning, proper way. And religion fundamentally is a good thing, and is a good pursuit, and is a means to seek the truth, to find the truth, and to live a meaningful life. And I still appreciate it from that perspective. I appreciate the fact that it seems to me that it is a way to seek and find the truth. That's how I view it, and I still think that religion is overall a force for good in the world. I don't consider it, unlike most non-believers, I don't consider it an evil or a bad or a destructive thing. I think with all its ups and downs, it is generally a force for good. That's how I view it.
And here's the thing, okay? I once had that talk with someone. Like I said before, like, for example, Judaism and also Hinduism and other aspects, they're not religion the way Christianity or Islam are religions.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another thing. There is no definition for religion. What it is, nobody knows. So what do you think is religion?
Um,
And the reason I'm asking you all those questions is because this is what your channel is about, mostly
yeah, yeah.
religion. So I'm asking, what is religion?
I actually appreciate that because this is a conversation that we don't much have. I really appreciate your line of questioning here. It's a difficult thing. I feel like I want to sit down and think and talk and read about this much more specifically with this purpose of trying to understand what exactly make of the term religion and the idea of and the concept of religion, so that I can talk further and better about this at some point. Maybe we should revisit this sometime. However, I just think I did listen recently to a very well-known rabbi. I forgot his name, but he has a talk on religion
There are so
and
many
what
of them.
religion
They all sound very
is.
different. You might
And
even think they're not from the same religion, how different they sound from each other.
yeah, but it was a regular Orthodox rabbi, and he was talking about how religion, you don't need religion, you need something else, faith, God. I
So
don't
in
know.
Hebrew, it's trust.
Okay.
The faith is trust, just trust.
But what I think, when I think of religion, is just I understand how Judaism is very different, and I only recently began to understand this, very different in nature as a religion from even Christianity, but from Islam especially. I understand how, for example, Hindus view it also differently. They say Hinduism is not a religion. It's
Yeah.
a way of living. It's a way of thinking, and so on. That's what they say because religion in the sense of how it is understood in Christianity does not fit the description of what Hinduism is. For example, it's different. I just think that religion could be used as this overarching term for a collective system of beliefs or of a way of thinking and feeling, where humans try to have an explanation for nature and everything that is beyond nature, and
Here,
as part
let
of
me
which
challenge
like
you
to
for
understand
one
the way
second
of
here.
go ahead.
If Judaism thought that the religion explained nature, why are Jews so good with science?
Why are Jews what?
So good with science.
Oh, because because when I say explaining nature, so that doesn't necessarily exclude a pursuit to understand nature and how it exactly functions further and in more detail or in a better way. It just explains the nature of nature and where it comes from and what its origin is and what its purpose is and what lies beyond it and so on. So by nature, when I say a pursuit to or an explanation for nature, what I'm thinking about is so religion is considered an explanation of the natural world and what is beyond it or what is at the core of it. However, you
Not
could
in
still
Judaism, I
understand.
would say.
You could
That
understand.
that would like make Judaism not a religion then at all, almost
Okay, but
by.
Judaism still does have the Genesis, for example, which explains why everything exists or why the world exists or how it came into being. So it is that aspect that I would say is the
It's
is what
not taken
religion.
literally though. It doesn't think it. It doesn't, like most Jews, even religious ones, don't believe it really happened that way. It just believes it's a way to teach valuable lessons to humanity in a way that they can derive from those stories, not necessarily that it is true in that sense. It just explains human nature in a way that humanity can understand it, or
Yeah, but
humans.
rabbinic Judaism does still hold that that at the core of things right now in this life is that God actually, for different reasons, created this world from a different condition, and that this is why things are the way they are. Although there is, of course, much more to it which you explore in life, but there is still this whole Jewish belief that God created it, and we don't even have to talk about what
So I would
exactly it is.
say the most
Create.
important part in the story creation is that God declares it's good. This is maybe should be the focus. It's the thought that the creation is good. is the God Kitov. It's like, and we see it was good. And it's like it's the thought that the everything that was created is, it has like it's good. It's good that it exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the orthodox, the rabbinic perspective is still that that the way the this is actually very interesting, because their view is, I think the Talmudic view is that the Bible, that the initial beginning of the Bible would normally be another phrase that is not currently the beginning of the Bible, which would be that this is the first day or something like that, one of those verses. However, they do think that the beginning of Genesis, where in the beginning there was God, and the creation aspect, that this is literally what did happen, that God literally did create the world as it is into being from whatever was there before. So this is the traditional Orthodox rabbinic point
The
of view.
Talmud is not necessarily the traditional rabbinic thought. Actually, it doesn't
This is
really
what
work
Judaism.
that. It's not that it's Judaism. I know. I also know, like, for example, the way, like, the famous rabbi that is my great blah 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 grandpa is the genius from Vilna. He was a mathematician and physician, as well as a super famous Judaic, like, rabbi. And so I can say that even he and every rabbi of Judaism came against a lot of things that were mostly accepted inside of Judaism. It's not that straightforward. I just want to put that point where saying that would actually no, because I can tell you that that currently that wouldn't, like, that is probably, even if the Talmud thought so, and the Talmud brought a lot of medical knowledge as it was known at the time, and everybody understand that this is their understanding at the time, and it has nothing to do with real, like, science. It's just how they understood it back then, and it's put in that perspective.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand, but I wouldn't, like, just like it's a thing to like, I wouldn't go through that.
Yeah.
Try to.
So from my understanding, it is still a traditional Orthodox Jewish view that at least the part where God creates the world, where there is God and then God creates what is taken as a fact, and then the Genesis story is vastly literal and also metaphorical in order to teach different things. But at the core, at least, that God created is believed as a fact,
Right.
and that only is what I mean when I say that that religion is a way of understanding nature, just to, for example, explain that in essence, God created would be to me an attempt to explain nature.
No, it's not. It's not.
It
It's
is to me.
so Judaism doesn't think that way. Judaism thinks, what's the purpose? By saying God created, it means that there is something good. That's what I said, like, weight of this is where the focus is. Like, it saw that it's good. And this is why we should appreciate what we have and the earth and people around us, because it's a creation that God said is good, not in a sense, it's not in a natural sense or a scientific sense, but in a sense that it's good, it's
Okay,
important,
but
it's valuable.
here's the thing. So here's what I mean. Let's say two people from completely different backgrounds in a primitive environment come together. They look around. They just woke up in this empty world. They look around themselves. They see mountains, trees, all kinds of different things, and they have no idea what happened. One of them has an idea, and the other goes to him and asks him, "What is all this?" And one of them says, one of them is not in agreement with Judaism. He says, "I have no idea what all of this is." The other person says, in the beginning there was God. God created, and then from there it develops. But there is a difference between these two people. One of them says, "I have no idea. I will try. I will try to find out what happened." The other person says, "God created." Simply just by making that statement, by saying God created, or in the beginning there was God and God created, that person has attempted to make to have an understanding of an explanation for the things around them. And so that to me is what religion is the core of religion.
It's not. It's so okay. So I'm gonna say it in a different way. So I saw this beautiful explanation of Jewish thinking versus Greek Hellenistic thinking, and it's like, what is Greek thinking? If you have a bottle in front of you, Greek like logical Hellenistic thinking, they would start like if they ask, "Hey, describe what's in front of you," they would say, "Oh, it's this and that centimeters in height. This is the volume. This is the color. This is the material the bottle is made of." Okay. If you ask a Jew, a Jewish person, like Jewish thinking would say, "Oh, it's a tool to that you use so that to hold water."
Yeah.
So the creation, it means like there is purpose. It's not there was a green toast, like, like this is the bottle and this is, no, there is purpose.
Yeah. But I think we
There's
we very
purpose
much.
to life. There is purpose to everything.
But I think we actually agree with, in essence, we just have a different way of looking at it right now. But in essence, I agree with what you said, and I think you also kind of agree with what I said.
Yes,
But
but
we
the
just put it
thing is
different.
like that a lot of even rabbis reach the point where they say it's the belief that there is purpose that is important, and not if there is
Yeah,
or isn't.
I heard that from a rabbi. I did. Yeah, for example.
So when you say that, you understand that it doesn't come from the scientific standpoint. It doesn't come from to try to understand how the green bottle of earth was put into its place. It to say there is a purpose. There is a purpose, and it's good. And it's good. And that's the mentality. That's the thing. Like you grow up thinking it's good. There is a purpose. I'm here, and I like this is the fundamental enjoy life, love life.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. I'm glad we could agree on that. Good.
I'm gonna put this comment, which means I'm gonna skip a little bit because I skipped all the. But I want to show. Wait, I'm gonna because the one this one super chat before I go back and I'll go back to all of that. Saramji, Rebecca, I love you, but you're wrong. Ultra Orthodox 100% believe the story of creation in literally. I grew up Hasidic. Hasidics do, and my great uncle, called the Gaon Filmila, hated Hasidics with all his heart because of that thinking. Sorry. And he was a very respectable rabbi Jew that is famous for like in all aspects. And this is exactly the reason, like I cannot describe how much he didn't disliked the Hasidic thinking, but that's it. Just my personal family, like like I don't know what to say, but like
Yeah, yeah.
that's like that's like personal because that's my my family's line of Judaism that really like disagrees with that.
Yeah, I think it was it was a little bit misunderstood what you said. But what you said is that, of course, there are those in Judaism who think it is literal, but that is not the general view. That I think
It's
that's pretty much what you were saying. So you weren't saying that Jews in general don't believe
No, I wouldn't
that.
say that. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would also say that even trying to. There are a lot of things that some Jews just wouldn't want to go into, like what is God, but like depends on the type of Judaism. Because even like trying to describe God is actually creating an image of God, and even saying God wants this or God wants that is using God's names in vain. But like, oh, something. So this is like it's more like it's not that straightforward, and this is why I say like it's the purpose that matters, is the fact that there is purpose. There's like the creation says like there is purpose. There is it's good. It's good that it was created. It's good that there is ocean. It's good that there is earth. It's good that there are animals. It's good that there are people.
Nice.
Which is very
Nice.
funny. But like I don't know how we got there, because I just wanted to hear your view on religion in general.
Yeah.
But then you said things about Buddhism. We're like, that's my territory.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I understand.
Oh yeah. By the way, Sarah, thank you
I
for
still I
your
still think I want
donation,
to
even though I disagreed with you.
I still think that this is a topic that can be so widely explored. For example, until very recent times, I didn't really understand this, or I wasn't even really aware of the Jewish perspective that, or this popular Jewish perspective that that Judaism is not really a religion in the strictest sense, and I wasn't aware of the fact that, for example, a very well-known like Orthodox rabbi would give a speech on how it is trust or faith or truth, not religion, and that you don't need religion, you need the truth, and you need the faith or the trust. I wouldn't get this until a few months ago, because I didn't really understand how Judaism views things in a different and honestly much more sophisticated and complex way. I
Depends on
get
the
that now.
Jew, you know.
This is only something I'm learning, and I want to kind of further explore and understand, and also want to understand how to better actually describe what it means to what religion actually is, what it means to be religious, what it means to follow a religion, what the ultimate purpose of a religion is. At this point, all I'm seeing is that it is a search for meaning, and a way of establishing a system of morals and of beliefs. Or it's just I don't know, a human struggle to make sense of things, find purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, right? Okay, if you don't have a God per se, right? Why are you here? It's like, what's the purpose? This is,
I
I
could
feel
talk.
like this is what those who advocate for God, this is a lot of it, is that this is their like, which, like I say, I say it's easier than atheist. I don't want to talk. I don't care when it comes to God. I don't think I think it's a conversation that is idle by nature. The question is, what gives you purpose is way more important than the God question, if you ask me.
Yeah. I also have been recently, especially, less interested in discussing whether there is a God or not, and what it is. It's like, I was more interested in the past, years ago. I'm less interested today, because I feel like it's just an empty, meaningless struggle to me to discuss that whole issue. Um, I would rather be talking to myself or listening to something than having that discussion. Um, however, um, wait a minute. I was wanting. Oh yeah. This is one of the things that I encounter though. Like even right now, for example, when I am not part of a certain belief and don't really at this point believe or affirm that I believe in a specific um, God or religion or whatever you want to call it. One of the objections, or one of the questions and concerns that I get, that I hear, is exactly what you just said. So then what is the meaning? Then what is the purpose? Then what are you doing? Whatever you're doing, then why are you doing it? Then everything is meaningless. Um, and to me, the response to that has been for quite a while now that is not really entirely accurate. However, so it is accurate, but it also is not, because yes, so one thing is true: there is no objective, universal, uh, naturally existing meaning or purpose that you can point at and say, look, this is the purpose. The purpose is this and this and this and this. There is no such thing. If you don't follow a specific faith with specific beliefs, with a God, you can't say, yeah, there is a purpose. The purpose is this and this and this and this and this. It has to be written somewhere. It has to be naturally available. There is no such thing. That's true. However, that doesn't mean that there is no. That doesn't mean that this is a negative thing and that there should be a meaning, but there is no meaning, because the whole idea, the whole expectation that there should be a purpose, a greater purpose, a greater meaning behind all things, is an idea that comes because people learn that there is a meaning. So they expect that there should be a superior, a greater, a universal meaning. If you don't really have that expectation, and if you don't think that purpose or meaning is part of nature, then you don't see this as a negative. You don't see this as something that is lacking. You just see this as the way things are. That's it. So I think it's totally acceptable for me, not saying that this is actually, I don't want to make any claim about how I view it right now. Just want to explain it from just want to explain things as they can be viewed from a godless, atheistic, naturalistic perspective. You can be totally fine with the idea that you are simply existing in a natural universe, in a natural world, and there is no greater meaning, there is no greater purpose, but you, like many other beings and organisms out there, are simply existing within a restricted timeline, uh, and making it through life, and you will die, and so many others, maybe generations, maybe millions of generations of similar beings or other beings that develop from you will come forth, and this is simply the way things are. This doesn't have to be depressing. This doesn't have to be something bad. A meaning doesn't have to be there. And even if you think it's better if there is a greater meaning, even if you think it's better and it's less depressing and it's actually more satisfying if there is a meaning, that would just be your opinion. It doesn't change the fact, if it is a fact, that there may just not be such a thing as a greater meaning.
So
But I get it. I get it. Finding superior, finding meaning outside yourself gives most people um, happiness. It gives you peace. It feels you more. It makes you feel more fulfilled. I get it. I appreciate that aspect.
yeah. No, because like when you say that, like I think I say in the comments, I'm not the only one. The immediate verse that comes into mind is the ואהבת את אדוני בכל לבבך ובכל מאודך. But you love God with all your being and with all your heart, and that is out of love, and God, when created like this is good, so humanity is good, nature is good, animals are good, the ocean is good, and then this is the love, right? Love it, love everything. This is the when I look at like this is where like you say like Judaism says you need to love God, but by the love you give God is saying that, understanding that everything that God has declared as good in the story of creation is good, and therefore you give love to it, which
There was. Go ahead.
has its also things that it also comes with the responsibility of cleaning the let's say the things that hurt the good, right? It's Judaism doesn't like not recognize it. It's also part of it. It's also not releasing the murderers. It's also not like, it's also part of it, right? It's also making sure like justice will prevail, because there are it recognizes that if there is no love, then this is something that also has to be dealt with. But yeah, it is something that comes, and I saw a lot of like the love, love, love.
There was a point several years ago where I was thinking about the Ten Commandments a lot, um, for different reasons, because I was wanting to make a video about the lack of the Ten Commandments in Islam, but just at that time I also started thinking about the Ten Commandments in general, and actually kind of appreciated them. And the way I thought about it back then was this, and this is just my perspective at that time, where I thought that the Ten Commandments, you could also think of the Ten Commandments as just a way of not the commandments by God, but just as a thought project. You can think of it as the law, or the foundation of society, and think about different aspects. For example, you shall have no other god. Um, you could consider
Which
this
is
as
in Judaism as not believing in communism. That is also another God.
yeah,
Like this
but
is,
you could view that
this is
as God, or you could view that, for example, just to think about this as as a little project. Um, what if it was, you shall have no other law, you know, not God,
exactly,
but law, for example.
exactly.
And then
That's yeah.
another very important commandment: you shall not take the Lord's name in vain. Um, doesn't have to be, if you think about it. What if you replaced that with, you shouldn't take the law, the law in vain? So it has to be. I was thinking of God as this extremely sacred foundation of society that is at the core, that is the law of the way things are, and it is so respected and put in such a high place with the Ten Commandments that society is prevented or told that it is absolutely not acceptable to disrespect this law and to have any other law aside from this law. If you think about it, I mean, this is not how it has to be, right? This is not. It doesn't have to. This is just a theory. This is just a different way of looking at it. But if you look at it this way, that the Ten Commandments may could be a system put in place to have this ultimate law to make these people live together in a peaceful and functioning and good way without betraying the law and without betraying each other. You could say this is a very good, a very impressive, a genius way of creating a functioning society. And it's very impressive, and I thought it's very impressive how the Jews um, would have created that if it was just a human creation. But I don't know. I don't know where I was getting at with this, but you could think of
Yeah.
all of this as a core to a functioning society, you know.
There is a misconception that is, I think, pretty common, that Jews have only 7 commandments that are for the going, for all the nations, when in reality it's more close to 300.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's not that I did accounting, and it's not that I remember the exact number, but it's way more than that. Because I don't know when at some Judaism does at some point, like at some aspects, there is this. Today when we were walking and I looked at the pride flags with the strip, like they expanded the yellow strip to represent the return of the hostages. Now, bear with me because I'm just using that. And I thought, you see, this is a communication, because you have the national and the international dialogue in that flag. because there is the international, which is the pride flag, and then there is the national, which is the expanded yellow strip, which I do believe is national, right? I wouldn't expect other nations to put it like that, because with all due respect to our struggle, there are many other poor people in your cities that you're responsible for, and we're responsible for our hostages. And therefore, I do think that it is correct that only we are the ones that should be having that kind of flag. But it is kind of communication. And Judaism has this thing, right? When it's communicated, there is a dialogue between the national and the global, right? Like that there is the thing that, yes, we believe in our borders. We believe we want to do whatever we want in our borders. But at the same time, we share earth with other humans. And that is also saying we would want to strive to a world where some basic laws and some morality is common among all of us. And that struggle is, why do you see this like two kind of Jews, right? You have the Tikkun Olam and Olag, and like there are different kind of approaches inside of Judaism. You say like, why some Jews are so globalists, and like why Christianity came out of Judaism. It wasn't an unnatural process. It was a natural process, because there is that aspect. So it's very interesting. It's an open dialogue. It's something that I think we should be talking about more, because I feel like as the world gets more sophisticated and therefore smaller, this balance of nationality, individualism, and globalism is really something that we should be in dialogue.
Yeah, yeah. It is a nice thing that that Judaism originally or fundamentally has, where Jewish people are responsible for each other and for themselves, and you have a high sense of many very specific and very direct commandments, whereas those other people who are not Jewish and who don't convert, or who are just their own people, who are non-Jews, they also have certain laws expected from them, which would make them righteous. However, they still have their own laws, just laws that are in place
Their own
so as
culture.
not to make them evil and messed up, as long as they simply observe certain issues, like, I don't know, not sacrificing children, and not committing
Exactly. Yeah.
different acts. They make their own laws and they exist. This is how we are, and that is how you are, and we are fine with that. We can all be righteous with our own ways, and I don't know. It's a very interesting and actually quite good point of view. Maybe it should be more widely known and represented. But you guys just don't care about spreading your beliefs to everyone. So
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. That's the thing. And even
yeah,
the concept of like human rights, like the global human rights, came from Jews at the UN. Those are Jewish projects. This is why I always say, like, those who oppose anti-Semitism, but we can also not lie. We cannot also not lie about what Jews are and what Judaism is and what it did and what it does and the way it
here,
impacts the world and what we changed.
yeah,
This is where I say, like, if we say that we are a nation, like, we lie. We lie. If we apply, it's a kind of lie. It's a kind of, it's like when I try to how do I say it? Like, I use the most simple stereotype, which is money, with like Jews are rich, right? Saying that all Jews are rich, sounds just as ridiculous if you look at it objectively as saying that not all Muslims are violent.
yeah. I
It's
get it.
like this is what I said to Jews, right? This is it sounds stupid. You know it's a lie. Even if Jews are dirty poor, they're still richer, and they'll become richer faster, even if they just have the slightest slither of hope or chance to even do that. So, so it's a kind of a lie, which I think is like Jews are like hiding, but the reality comes through. Yes, anti-Semitism, it's twisted, but are they completely on the wrong by what they're saying or seeing? I don't think so, because there is an aspect of Jews trying to minimize, hide, and lie and deceive in their own way, just to remove the focus. But it's also a sort of a lie as well, because like the thing is that, imagine, this is how I explain it. I explained it in another place. The Jews had this epiphany, special epiphany of morality that was unprecedented and unparalleled and special, different, and that led to allowing a society that achieved the scientific achievements that it did. The invention of equality in front of the law, the removal of there is no, it's not laws from Moses, it's laws from God directly, and even Moses is under God, and all the Israelites had to walk 40 years in the desert, and the generation that knew Egypt was not allowed to enter Israel, and there were no exceptions, because Moses, with all and everything he did, was not allowed to enter to the country he fought so hard for. So that concept. So there is that aspect. And it's like another way to say it is like what with Albert Einstein, when he came up with the idea of the general relativity, did not share it with the world. How long would it take for the world to reach that understanding? How long would a person like Albert Einstein or someone with that very, very different view of the world, that this person is admired for a reason, right? His thinking was completely different. So there is a sort of responsibility that comes with that. There is some sort of responsibility, like Albert Einstein, when he thought the way he thought, and then when he realized what he realized, there was a responsibility of Albert Einstein to make sure the world knows that the world, and like to share that scientific discovery in a way.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Albert Einstein, also decide when people
I
find
mean,
out
Albert
certain
Einstein was
truths.
Jewish, so it all fits
Yeah,
in that
so he was also
conspiracy theory
controlling the world.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he was
So
controlling
I
the
was
world as
thinking,
well. Makes sense.
why is it? It's long. What I'm gonna do? I'm sorry. Can you entertain the people for a little
Oh, sure.
bit?
Frozen.
I'm very computer is
Frozen.
as well. My computer is frozen. What do I do? How is it? Funny. Oh, here is back. What did you do? Oh no. No, yeah, I can't. No, it's not my computer. Yeah. Not me. Am I with my amazing? No, I'm for sure. Oh, I know. Let's even see. But here, no. Was so funny. One, two, three, four. Wait, let me see if it's back.
Here and continue some other
Yeah,
time.
I think so. Yeah.
Or maybe you
I
need to
mean,
restart
I
or
can.
join
Oh no, I wanted to go
again.
through the super chat though.
I think the Jews shut it down. We're exposing the Jews. They shut it down.
I mean, yeah, they shut me down. Can you imagine? Incredible. It's
The
like
Jews
once you
shut it
expose
down.
the Jews, that's it. It sounds like they can hear us though. Yeah, choppy, kind of entertaining.
Yeah, you should probably
Restart stream.
end it. Come on, let's end it.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's finish it.
It's not the internet. It's my computer. It's got overheated. It's too hot in
No,
this
I can't hear you.
country,
You're
and
gone.
it cannot handle it. You cannot hear me? I can see you. I can see you move as well. Now you're gone. All right, you guys. It's too hot for my computer in this country. That's the problem. Alright, it looks like it's back though. Let me see. Yeah, AP left, I think. Where did AP go? Can you guys see me, hear me, anything? No? Yeah, okay, you can hear me, but I'm stuck, right? That's the thing? Okay, there is no video. Just volume or something. Okay. Okay, I can read super chat because you guys can hear me. But AP is gone. Where is AP? Just read it. Let's see. David Wood went to Speaker's Corner to confront the Muslims who made death threats against him online, but they didn't show up or ran away. Hypocrisy. I mean, if he went there with the police, I guess that makes sense. Well, thanks, dear Electra. Charlie Lemon, you're sweet. You always, it's nice to have seen you here. Is it too optimistic to consider that Israel has natural allies in the oppressed people of Darfur, Bangladesh, Sudan, and Sri Lanka, who are hoping for a total defeat of Hamas? I don't like... Oh, it's frozen again. Okay, whatever. Oh, la, la, la. Okay, when are we starting GoFundMe for Rebecca to get new equipment? Great question. Yeah, IP went away. I'm frozen. Life is tragic. Do you guys know if... Okay. I wonder if there is a way to read the super chats just next time. I'll just make AP come again just to read those all. Even though in general I don't see anything too impressive here. Wait, why am I missing here something? Like, thank you, Sigal, for that super chat. That's an amazing, thank you. What's here more? Oh, there's echo. Echo, echo, echo. Put an ice cube on it now. Yeah, 100%. This is what happens when it's too hot in this country and my computer is like, I'm dying, it's hot, it's hot. I'm trying to see if there is any, Hitler said conscious is a Jewish invention. Thank you, JS. I'm trying to see if there is anything very exciting here, but yeah. Oh, AP. I just actually, can you hear me though? Is the hearing okay? I'm on mute. I'm muted. Oh. Oh. It's funny. I can see AP, but I can't see me because I turned off the camera.
Oh no! Oh no! Hello, hello. Hi.
Hi. Hi. How are you doing?
Hi. How nice to meet you.
Nice seeing you. Nice seeing you. It
How
says
are
that
you going?
they say that my voice is echoing. How weird.
Yes, I was just listening to it, and you are echoing badly. I don't know what happened.
Neither do
Wait
I.
a minute. No, I think it's fixed now.
Okay.
The echo is
I'll
gone now.
just.
Yeah, it's fixed.
I'll,
Yeah, let's just end it here. I think this was a very good live stream.
yeah, I agree.
I will publish the functioning part on my channel as well.
I always get a problem. I need to figure out how to keep my computer cool for the whole stream. I noticed it breaks down after 2 hours. After 2 hours, it goes no can do.
You need to format it, delete all the bad stuff.
I actually, it's for to make it work right now. I just closed some things and I just removed some
You need to
energy
get a different.
consuming, like CPU consuming things.
You need to get a better computer from the Jews.
I agree. I agree. Can you believe it? Like everything is developed here, but somehow I get like